Hey folks, welcome back to the show. With us is Bruce E. Weeks, Assistant Director of Economic Development for the City of Atlantic City. Bruce, welcome to the show, man.
What's going on, Mike? It's a pleasure to be here.
Appreciate you coming out, taking the time for our viewing audience. Listen, before we get into it, what the department entails, tell us a little bit about Bruce E. Weeks, what you do, and how to come to the position you are today.
Sure. So thank you for having me, Mike. Bruce E. Weeks, as you stated, born and raised in Atlantic City, New Jersey. I graduated from Atlantic City High School. I went on to attend Howard University in Washington, D.C., where I graduated with a bachelor's degree in finance. Shortly thereafter, I moved to New York, where I started my career on Wall Street in finance. And I was there for about 8 or 9 years. Then I moved back to Atlantic City around 2016. Had various different jobs. I was a former city councilman in the city, and I'm now the Assistant Director of Economic Development.
Love it. Listen, we're going to drop back for a second there. Councilman, what did that prepare you for in this position in which you are today?
Just kind of seeing some of the more challenging issues more intimately, getting to know the residents' issues and the challenges that they face, seeing the type of programming that they may want to see, some of the jobs they might want to see come to Atlantic City, some of the more economic mobility strategies that they want to see put in place. So being a councilman and being on the ground level was really an eye-opening experience, a very invaluable experience that really helped prepare me for my role.
And listen, I'll do this publicly too. I mean, very, very well astute with the subject matter. When I used to go to the council meetings and watching online, you were, what's good for the people. Mm-hmm. And I really appreciate that as a resident of Atlantic City. Now, with small business and where you're at today with the City of Atlantic City, talk about that department at first, and then we'll get into the, the do's and days of the everyday 8 hours to probably 16 hours at sometimes. Right ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. So, macro level, high level, economic development within the Department of Planning Development. The bulk of what we do is commercial and residential redevelopment, so the larger projects, the larger residential projects that come to the city. But then I have that other bucket of what I primarily focus on, which I consider economic mobility. So underneath that, in that particular bracket, we have, small business and entrepreneurship development and workforce development. And that's kind of the bulk of what I try to focus on right now.
And when you talk about the bulk, which I get, the small business, I mean, because we've talked about this recently on the radio show, which we mentioned here with Stockton University, and we appreciate what they do. Small business, I mean, a city like Atlantic City, unique, 48 blocks, relatively small, 35 to 38,000 people with billion-dollar industries. But what makes that work, we have to step away from that sometimes. We have to diversify. And it's small business. It's the barber shops. It's the liquor store. It's the coffee shops, the bodegas, and all that sort. Talk about that, because I see a revitalization in that area, because we did have some problems that folks were going out because maybe the bigger stores, the casinos, push some of those restaurants and doctors' offices. So again, what makes a city thrive besides big business, cranes in the sky and whatnot, is small business. Go right ahead.
Absolutely, and particularly historically in Atlantic City, that was the case. Pre-casinos, right. Who kind of defined the economic spirit, economic zeitgeist was the small business community. They are what drew people to Atlantic City. So back in the 30s, the 40s, and the 50s, it was that sort of community on the north side, the entertainment district, all of the, like you said, barbershops. We had our own sort of thriving ecosystem. And what happens is when you have that built up, you become more resilient. So the next time the casinos go through their, whatever kind of illnesses that they go through, it doesn't necessarily trickle down as badly to the community, because we have a more robust ecosystem on a small business level. And so we're really trying to focus on that right now as a foundation in Atlantic City, because as we try to explore what's going to be that next sort of larger industry in the city, we have to make sure that we're building that foundation on a small business level.
And with what you do, Bruce, so I mean, is there something, and this is just me, just guessing and thinking a question, is there something specific when you and your team put, whether it's the academy, which we'll talk about in a little bit, or grants, specific businesses that you want to see come in to like springboard maybe some others. Is there anything, or is I'm just maybe overthinking that a little bit?
No, you're not. And so we did explore certain chain businesses that are known as force multipliers. So when they come to town, other businesses seem to follow. We're kind of staying away from that because we did start the whole Keep It Local campaign. So we want to kind of keep more of that money in our ecosystem. So what happens is when you have a more mom and pop business, 70% of every dollar ends up staying in the community as opposed to like a Starbucks or a McDonald's or a Walmart, where 40% stay, that every dollar stays in the community. So to get back to your question, we kind of want to focus on taking it back a little bit. So like, you know, the entertainment, what's going to draw a crowd? You know, obviously we need more amenities in the city as we look at the new housing stock that's coming. I don't know if we're ready from a commercial amenities perspective to handle that housing stock. So we're really ramping up, trying to get those vacant storefronts activated, particularly on Atlantic Avenue, which is a major corridor into the city. So, you know, programs like the micro grant program are really hyper focused on trying to activate these storefronts so that, you know, we're prepared. We're ready from a amenity standpoint to take on these new residents that we're looking to attract.
So understanding what you just laid out to me and our viewer audience is that, you know, when these folks come, because we have so much development going to be going on very soon, Kay Hovani and Pat Fasano, his crew, Kushner, I could go on and on, Zubek and whatnot. Those folks are going to need a place to go, whether to have a cup of coffee, get their hair cut, or whatever it may be. So I get it. And the Keep It Local campaign, I know you touched on it, but again, very cool. Again, whoever's doing the graphics as well on the posters, excellent job. Dig into that a little bit too. I know you just did, but that's so strong. And again, this is an opportunity. And as I look to the camera, I'm telling you, there's an opportunity there for you folks. Go right ahead, Bruce.
So when I started to do more research and examine how we could further help the business community, I started to look at what resources that we have already in place. And we had just built this new robust Great Day website that the mayor spent a lot of money on. We have this new Great Day app. And so I wanted to figure out how could we leverage that to help bring a more shared prosperity to our business community, put the spotlight on them. Because the tourism industry obviously has Visit AC, they have CRETA, but what does a small business community have that really puts a spotlight on them? So we created the Keep It Local campaign, and we wanted to kind of funnel that through our new Great Day website, but also we have physical signage that we take out to the storefronts to help bring more visibility, more attraction to them. There's a QR code that'll take you directly to our new website to show you all of the participating businesses, more information on them. We do, you know, targeted video marketing for certain businesses because what I found was that through research, most small businesses should be spending about 8 or 9% of their operating budget on marketing, but they're not. They're spending about 1 or 2%. So how do we as a government help bridge that gap for them? So we have, not only do we help them promote their businesses, we have every month we have a sort of a targeted business discipline session. So we'll partner with Joe Molino and have a marketing session. How do you further market your business? How do you collaborate with other businesses so you guys aggregate your resources and get that messaging out further and stronger? So we're really pouring a lot of resources into the mom and pop style businesses because again, they're the ones that aren't going to get a call from the Midwest corporate office saying you got to close your doors, right? They're the ones that their kids go to high school in our community. They grew up in our community. They're not going anywhere. They were with us through Sandy. They were with us through the financial crisis of 2008, and they were with us through COVID. So we want to stick by them as best we can.
No, and that's so well put. You've talked about the signage of the Keep It Local campaign. You know, I have you know, just recently I heisted one of those posters as I spoke to you prior to the show and brought that out. Again, talk about that a little bit because one of the things in Atlantic City, you said, was vacant stores and some of the storefronts or whatnot with the micro grants and what you've done for small businesses. Talk about that a little bit because that's a huge difference when there's that pride and that sense of, you know, here's some help. And it's the city providing it, which is great. And again, two-parter. I don't know of any other city that's doing what we're doing.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And right? I think, you know, just sitting down with all the businesses, getting to meet them all, so many applied, hundreds applied for the program. And you got to kind of figure out the divergent needs, the varying needs of every business, figuring out, you know, how this was going to impact them. You know, some were able to pay their rent and stay open. Some were able to, you know, keep their employees on. Some were able to, you know, purchase new equipment to get open. So we structured it in a way that it either was a reimbursement style grant where if you incurred certain costs during COVID, we would reimburse you for that. And then we got creative. We were able to help startup companies. So if you were a resident of Atlantic City during a certain time period, but you weren't able to start your business because of COVID, because it exasperated your financial situation, we were able to now help you, which was a different criteria. You had to have a business plan. So it was a completely separate process. But for the first time ever really in the city's history, there was sort of that startup capital to help people get open or get started, which was, just at the Walk location alone, we were able to help 4 different businesses open up, which is huge when you're talking about right there next to the convention center, all the conferences going on. You want to have a robust market for the tourists as well. So we're seeing really good impact from that program beyond just the Walk area in the neighborhoods as well.
Love it. And you talked about the mayor briefly, Mayor Small, this, and to let you run and do what you do, and Pam, talk about that too, that relationship, because the guy, whether it's youth or seniors, as well as small businesses, and again, yours truly, again, publicly will say it, thank you, because it's helped me with my small business. But that relationship in Mayor Small and the way he lets you guys and gals work and do what you have to do.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, it all starts from his vision. Right before I started, I met with him at his house. He said, listen, I'm gonna have $500,000 for you, and I want to put this out in the form of small business grants. And he said, I'm telling you, I told you I was gonna give you the resources that you needed to succeed. And so once we crafted the program with our legal department, got the application ready, started marketing it, there were certain concerns internally of whether or not we were gonna have enough interest to fill out or to fill that $500,000. Turns out we got over $1 million worth of requests. And so I went back to the mayor and said, listen, I'm already interviewing a lot of these companies, a lot of these businesses. A lot of them have really compelling stories. It's hard to say no to everyone, right? And so the 500 just wasn't enough. And so he said, let me get back to you. Took about a week or so and came back and said, listen, I have 900,000. And so, that's just who he is. He always wants to help. And I know he understands that this is a very unique opportunity to finally put the focus on not just programming. We've been programming the life out of our business community, right? With no real capital at the end of it, which is the largest barrier for small businesses, is that access to capital. To be able to finally say, hey, there's light at the end of the tunnel. And we've been hearing for years that we don't do anything for you. And we have our own proprietary program. That is probably the most impactful small business program that we've ever had in the city. Because again, we have Creator who's been in the city that, to be honest, probably hasn't really bucked up enough for our small business community. We have, a certain county economic development lines. They do their job. But to be able to have control and ownership of it and say, this is what we're going to do, we're going to make sure our businesses get this capital, it gets no better than that.
That's awesome. Listen, we got about a minute, and I know this isn't right for me to do, but talk about that business academy as well, too, briefly, if we can get that in here.
Oh, absolutely. So this all started about 6 years ago when the mayor first got in. He wanted to do a small business program, and so did some research, and I saw that Goldman Sachs, which is who I consider the premier investment bank in the world, they launched a new initiative called 10,000 Small Businesses, and what they did was they went into all of the larger cities in the U.S., and they structured an educational entrepreneurship program that would teach entrepreneurs how to start or scale their business for about 8 or 9 weeks, and then at the end of it, they would have opportunities to gain access to Goldman Sachs, sort of some of the small business capital programs that they had to get, further grow their businesses. So I wanted to replicate that, and we had to, figure out who the players were going to be, who we were going to partner with, because we couldn't do it ourselves. And since then, we've had about 5 or 6 academies, all Atlantic City residents for the most part, and we've had people open up businesses because of this. And the unique thing about it is we added a business pitch competition. And so people have the opportunity to compete amongst themselves in front of business leaders who judge the competition on grant funding, incubator space, free memberships to chambers of commerce. And we're taking it a step further this year for Small Business Month. We're going to open up our own shared workspace and incubator on the first floor of City Hall. So now our students have a place to go. We're going to have a podcasting station so they can do content. They're going to have workstations that they can operate from, meeting space. It's just going to be a real community of real business environment that we're finally going to be able to provide for our residents.
Again, I appreciate what you do, the folks of Atlantic City and the folks that come in. And again, there's an opportunity there for you folks to get your behinds to Atlantic City, live, work, play there, and also create and have your families. Man, I want to thank you, bro.
Always,
I appreciate you. Great job as continue. Folks, stay right where you're at. We'll be right back.